There we go. All right, there we go. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back for a Wednesday edition of the Steel City Sports Report, where we talk everything Steelers, Penguins, and Pirates. I am your host, Brady Vini. Hope all of you are having a fantastic evening. Going to be maybe a bit of a quicker live stream here tonight. Not too much going on in the football world. The Pittsburgh Steelers having a travel day today. But we do have a good bit of Pittsburgh Pirates news to cover. The big one today, ladies and gentlemen, it has finally happened. Bubba Chandler is on his way up to the big leagues. Should have been up here months ago, but now with the Pirates completely out of any sort of relevancy, figured that's a good time to bring up one of the best pitching prospects in baseball. So we will get to see Bubba Chandler coming up, hopefully in this weekend series against the Colorado Rockies. We also have to wrap up the current series that the Pittsburgh Pirates are in. They, today and last night, playing 2 games, wrapping up their 3-game set with the Toronto Blue Jays. What happened in those 2 games we will cover as well. Then we will get into a little bit of some Pittsburgh Steelers news today. Gabe Davis visiting with the Buffalo Bills. What is next for him and the Steelers? Search for a wide receiver too. Also, legendary quarterback for the Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger. He spoke highly of the Steelers offense on his podcast. What he had to say, we will mention as well. And any other pieces of news that we happen to come across along the way. First thing is first, if you're new here to the channel, please subscribe and turn on notifications so that you never miss when I am live again. Also, feel free to leave a like, share, and leave a comment in the comments section. Any thoughts, questions, or opinions that you may have, you can get those in there. I can pop those up on the screen at a moment's notice, just like this. Also, would appreciate it if you were to come back later tonight and check out this evening's edition of SCSR60. And go give the channel a follow on the following social media platforms at Facebook, Instagram, and X as well. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to start off today's show with the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the big news today, it finally happened. Bubba Chandler is on his way to Pittsburgh after seemingly spending an eternity down there in AAA with the Indianapolis Indians. There you see the post from Noah Hiles. He was the first to come out with it today. The Pirates promoting Bubba Chandler to the big leagues. He will be up for this upcoming weekend series against the Colorado Rockies starting Friday night. However, we will not get to see Chandler at his best. And that's not me saying, oh, he's going to come up here and suck. It's no, literally, he will be doing something new that he has not done up until this point. He will be pitching out of the bullpen per manager Donnie Kelly. This is a post here from Alex Stumpf, who covers the Bucs for the MLB.com. Bubba Chandler will be used as a bulk reliever with the Pirates, so kind of like what we've seen from some other young pitchers that have came up from the minors throughout the years. Braxton Ashcraft comes to mind, so does Thomas Harrington there for a tiny bit, and that's just, talking about this year. The team does view him, however, as a long-term starter, and he can get starts this year. It just depends on the situation. If I had to guess, maybe he pitches a couple of games out of the pen. He might make one start in the final or penultimate series of the season. But Chandler out of the bullpen, at least they're getting up, their best pitching prospect. He is the number 2 prospect overall in the Bucs pipeline. But it was clear, even though he's been struggling lately down there in AAA, he will finally get out of whatever funk he's in. I think his struggles in AAA recently have been him just being frustrated and kind of burned out of, not getting up to the big leagues, watching almost every other pitcher around him go up there. So, Bubba Chandler now coming up in the bullpen. I wonder, if it was a unanimous decision to put him in the bullpen like this. I know the Pirates, and we all know that they will do anything to make a couple extra bucks and get some more fans in the building. If they would put Chandler in the starting rotation immediately, you would kind of guess Friday, it was a TBD up until now. You slot Chandler in that starting spot, PNC Park would have been more filled. I wouldn't say sold out, but it would have been more filled than it ever has all year. Braxton Ashcraft, who I did mention, came up just like this earlier in the season, became a bullpen arm instead of, being his natural self as a starting pitcher. He will get the start on Friday. So Bubba Chandler coming up out of the bullpen in AAA over 10 innings, or over 100 innings this season. I have 4.05 ERA, 121 strikeouts. He is the number 2 prospect in the Pirates organization, according to both MLB Pipeline and Baseball America. He is the MLB's number 15 overall prospect, according to MLB Pipeline, according to Baseball America. I believe he's number 7 or 8 on MLB Pipeline. So a much anticipated debut coming up here for Bubba Chandler. Like I said, even though he's been struggling down there in AAA, I think he will be reinvigorated by this call-up. I think he's been frustrated that he didn't get the call-up until now, but now that he will get his shot in the big leagues, I think he will crank it up a notch here and give it his best coming up maybe on Friday or maybe over the weekend whenever Donnie Kelly, Pirates manager, decides to get him into a ball game. What do you guys think of Bubba Chandler and his promotion? Let me know in the comments down below. Maybe a peek into the future of what the Pirates could have next season. Excited to see what the rotation can be next year. You're going to have Paul Skeens sometime, hopefully, maybe later on in the year. Next year, you will see the return of Jared Jones. Now you got Bubba Chandler in there as well. A ton of other pitchers in there, Mitch Keller and Johan Oviedo. I'm not going to go in too deep here on all the possibilities for the Buccos, but at least the pitching staff looks like it has a glimmer of hope to be good once again next year. But let's stick in the present right now. I just mentioned Mitch Keller, Johan Oviedo could be a part of the Buccos bullpen, the Buccos rotation next year. They pitched last night and tonight. Mitch Keller on the bump last night for the Pittsburgh Pirates in Game 2 of their series against the Toronto Blue Jays. And talking about the game last night, it was ugly from start to finish, and there really isn't any nice way of putting it. The Toronto Blue Jays, they took over PNC Park pretty much all series long. I guess not too far of a travel there coming down from Toronto to Pittsburgh. So they took over PNC Park. And last night, they had a lot to cheer for. Mitch Keller continuing this strange, unfortunate, almost like guaranteed trend at the end of every season where once the trade deadline passes, or at least the All-Star game passes, Keller just completely falls off. Last night, began the game, hit a batter, and walked 2 more. So he loaded up the bases immediately, and the Jays, they got all 3 of those runners across. It was 3-0 early on. Keller, again, went back out there. I want to say this was around 3rd inning. George Springer, been in the league forever. He comes up, absolutely nukes a ball out to left field. That made it 5-0. Keller last night only going 3 1/3 innings, 7 hits, 5 earned runs, 3 walks, and 4 strikeouts. I believe he only pitched 85 pitches. His ERA now this month is 7.98, and it raises his once at least respectable ERA that was down in the 3s up to 4.34 now. So Keller, I'm really glad that the Pirates kept him at the trade deadline. I thought, maybe we would see something different from him, because I think for a majority of his starts early on in the season, it wasn't his fault. It was the defense and the offense that really let him down in his starts. Also, kind of happy they didn't trade him, because Ben Cherington is the one pressing the buttons here, and he probably would have gotten some team's 14th best prospect for Keller in a deal like that. So I'm glad Keller stayed on those 2 parts, but it's kind of hard for me to say. But if there was any other general manager running this team right now that actually, had a brain instead of just slushing around up there, I'm starting to reconsider. Like I'd say trade Keller at that point. His value was as high as it will ever be, and we had a good idea. Like, all right, past 2 seasons, Keller second half of the season is god awful. What's us to believe that he won't do it again? So maybe that will finally, pending that the Steelers or at the Pirates, get a new general manager, it might be time to move on from Mitch Keller after all. Unfortunately, Pirates probably will not get back too much good in that deal. But moving along with last night's ball game, Keller only going 3 1/3, gave up 5 runs. Johan Oviedo, he came in relief for Mitch Keller after that, did quite all right. And then I believe it was the 7th inning or 8th inning, Colin Holderman back in the big leagues. He came into the ball game to pitch, has been down in the minors for a little bit. You were hoping that some miracle he got some of that magic David Bednar recaptured down in AAA earlier this year. Did not be the case at all. Holderman comes in, 3 pitches, 2 hits. One was a 105-mile-an-hour single from Bo Bichette, and then Alejandro Kirk, the short and stout catcher for the Blue Jays, he hit one out of the ballpark as well. The final score last night ended up being 7-3. Bucs got 2 more runs in garbage time after that. They have now, as of last night, lost 8 of their last 10. And then we move on to today, a little bit of a better result. If you did not catch the live stream last night, Johan Oviedo back in the big leagues. It was said he would be activated and come back up to the big leagues today. We actually got news or the move that Oviedo, the official, transaction of him coming up to the majors, was officially announced about 15 minutes before first pitch. Left-handed pitcher Evan Sisk, who the Pirates got in the Bailey Falter trade from the Kansas City Royals. He has been sent down to AAA. No surprise there. The Jays, however, gave Oviedo a bit of a few haunting memories from his last start in the big leagues. If you remember, his first start in the majors in 2 years against the San Francisco Giants about a month ago did not go the way Oviedo wanted. Only pitched 1 inning. Looked like he was heading for a similar fate in this one. George Springer, staying red hot for the Blue Jays, led off the game with a 10-pitch at-bat. On the 10th pitch, he hit one out to give Toronto a 1-0 lead. After that, quite happy with Johan Oviedo's performance today. He settled in. Tommy Pham, to the very much disdain and hate from Toronto Blue Jays fans in the bottom of the first inning, gave the Bucs a lead, hit a 2-out double down the left field line. That scored 2, and that's all the Bucs needed in the end. Ultimately, more on Johan Oviedo. 5 innings pitched for him today, only had the 1 earned run, only 2 hits. So the Springer home run, 1 extra hit, that was all 1 walk, 6 Ks. Had a good fastball and slider today, and dare I say, showed at least a few glimpses of what we remember Johan Oviedo as back in 2023 before his Tommy John surgery. So congratulations to him. Dennis Santana came in for the save and shut it down. 2-1, the final score in the ball game, and the Pirates taking 2 out of 3 from one of the better teams in baseball this year in Toronto. And as you see here, Johan Oviedo, of course, going 5 innings, did get his first major league win since he got Tommy John. After the game, Tommy Pham, he spoke with reporters. If you remember, had the whole strange bench clearing incident back on Monday. Did not play yesterday, and this afternoon was back into the lineup. Blue Jays fans booed the hell out of him when he came up to the plate in the first inning, and he rips that 2 RBI double. He said he didn't feed off of the boos, even though I kind of don't believe him there. I think he enjoys being the villain. However, that wasn't the interesting quote that I wanted to point out from Tommy Pham today. Pham, speaking with Jason Mackey for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette after the game, says that the Pirates are not that far off from contending for a playoff spot, and mainly because of the pitching. His full quote right here, shout out Jason Mackey for putting this here. I told Ben at the deadline my thoughts about this organization. One thing I mentioned is how we have a playoff pitching staff. People can laugh at me all they want, but this team is really close. I've seen teams go from last to 95 wins. If you look at the Cubs in 2014, there are plenty of examples going forward. This organization has the pitching to do that. You have Skeens, Mitch, Ovi. I'm a big believer in Burrows. The bullpen is kind of lights out with Santana, Ash, Matt, Shug. Who am I missing? There's a lot to like here. Offensively, me and Kutch are trying to get the guys to buy into a philosophy here that we think brings success. If you look at what we've been doing lately, how we're grinding out at bats, you look at guys like Jared Triolo, he's starting to become a tougher out. Triolo, by the way, I think he has a 263 batting average or something since coming back up from the minor leagues. It's stuff like that we need to get guys to buy in offensively as a group to get the group to have success. Earlier in the year, there was a lot of early out swinging, what we call non-productive at-bats, and it's starting to change. Guys are starting to wear out the pitcher, becoming a harder out. Things are starting to change here for the better. It's taking consistent and constant reiteration every hitter's meetings, telling the guys to buy into this. Hard hit outs, productive outs, seeing pitches, looking for your pitch essentially, so we can get guys out by the 5th or 6th inning instead of by the 7th. We're getting better. It's taking some time. So Tommy Pham, strong words of encouragement and a strong belief of the future for this Pittsburgh Pirates team. I'm going to be honest, he's kind of one of many here. He said it in his quote there. Don't believe me if you want, but I'll agree with him on one thing. The pitching staff, it is good. The bullpen, I still think needs some tinkering, though you can build those and get those at least half decent throughout a season pretty easily. But Skeens, Mitch, we'll see what goes on with him the rest of the year if he can figure out this second half slump thing he's going through every year. Oviedo, hopefully he's still trajecting back to the form he had in 2023. And then Burrows and Chandler. So I do agree with that a little bit for Tommy Pham, but, citing the 2014 Chicago Cubs, which did knock the Pirates out of the playoffs in the wild card that season, and one of the last times the Pirates even made the playoffs, I think still a long way to go there for Tommy Pham. Also, I got to wonder if that quote there from him, that whole thing describing how the Pirates are not that far off, I wonder, he said he talked to Ben. Does he want to be back next year? I mean, he should be used by now to, bouncing around everywhere. I mean, God, he's been on 12 teams or something in, 8, 9, 10 seasons. So you got to wonder if Tommy Pham will want to come back and if the Pirates will be willing to do business with him once again. But we will see. Bucs take 2 out of 3 from the Toronto Blue Jays. And like I mentioned, off tomorrow, which, hey, perfectly fine with me. We will have some preseason football to cover, and then they will look for a better series coming up against the Colorado Rockies, unlike what they did in Denver last time these two teams met. Real quick, gonna take a break here and go to the comment section. Flacco, welcome back. Salutes as always. 6 of you in here right now. Welcome to the stream. If you have not done so already, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you never miss when I am live again. We are up to 490 subscribers on the channel, trying to get to 500. I think we will be reaching that soon once some real live action football comes to be here starting in September. Also, to you, those of you in here right now, not only subscribe to the channel, but turn on notifications so that you never miss when I am live again. Like this live stream, share this live stream, and comment in the comments section just like Flacco. And also be sure to give me this channel a follow on Facebook, Instagram, and X as well. And come back later tonight for SCSR60. Real quick, going to take a stroll here through Twitter, see if we have any new bits of information going on before we continue on here. By the way, I just saw this stat here before going live here today. The Pirates, with their series win against the Blue Jays, taking 2 out of 3 against them, they are now 36-30 at PNC Park this season. That is the 8th best home record in the National League. The top 6 teams in terms of home record currently have playoff spots, while the 7th team, the Cincinnati Reds, they are just 1 game out of a wild card spot. And the Bucs, who are in 8th place, 54-74, on pace to have the second, to have one of the worst records in the National League and in all of baseball. And they have the 2nd worst road record in the National League. So if, let's say here, if the Pirates were, instead of fresh roadkill in a landfill at on the road, if they were just an average, or I'll even settle for a below average baseball team on the road, then who knows where the hell they would be right now in the standings. Probably, on the outside, very outside looking in at a wild card spot, but hey, they wouldn't be, 6 feet under for the season right now. So just thought that was interesting. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for the 2 main Pittsburgh sports news talking segments here today. The Pirates calling up Bubba Chandler and the Bucs taking 2 out of 3 from the Toronto Blue Jays. Now we are going to get into the extra Pittsburgh sports news segment of the program. Some loose news items that we will not get too attached to, but we will buzz through. And we are going to start here with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, not too much news going on with them here today. We will talk about Gabe Davis here in a matter of moments, but the Steelers right now, if I had to guess, probably I know they left this afternoon. They may or may not still be airborne right now on their way down to meet with the Carolina Panthers. If not, they have freshly landed down there. But we do have a little bit to talk about for the black and gold. And we're going to start with former Steelers legendary quarterback, Super Bowl champion quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger, who on his Footballin' podcast last night had lavishing praise for the Pittsburgh Steelers offense and 1 or maybe 2 players in particular. He talked about DK Metcalf. If you remember, Ben was at Acrisure Stadium just about this time last week when the Steelers had their joint practice with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last Thursday. And not sure if he was, just spitballing here or if he was kind of, describing what he was seeing out there at that joint practice. But talking about DK Metcalf, he said there has never been a wide receiver in terms of physical stature that can take over a game like DK Metcalf since Terrell Owens. Also said that Metcalf still has room to grow, and I'm sort of spitballing here, saying that DK has never had a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. I wonder if that's also maybe a subtle shot at Russell Wilson, but I mean, kind of Ben is right there. Rodgers really a spray the ball all over the field and use his receivers to the best that he possibly can. While, Russ, when he was in Seattle, was just, DK 6'4", 230 to my left or to my right. Let me huck it down the sideline like I always do, because that's the only thing I really can do. And we'll see if we can pick it up that way. So just thought that was quite a statement from Big Ben, saying Metcalf is the most physically imposing wide receiver since Terrell Owens in just a physical stature. I wonder, I kind of disagree with that a little bit from Ben. Would you not put Megatron in that category? Like, I know Metcalf is built like a brick you-know-what house, and he, can run like a person half his size and weight. But, yeah, just thought that was interesting from Ben. Also, Ben said that when they get going, the Steelers offense, that is, I'm telling you, it's going to be something special. So Ben, expecting big things from this Steelers team, which kind of worries me even more, because he now joins a long list of people, both in the organization and outside the organization, to, before a single snap of regular season play has gone on, saying that this team is going to be God's gift to football here. You got Ben saying Metcalf is going to be outstanding, that the offense, when they get clicking, is going to be special. You got Daniel Jeremiah yesterday on the Pat McAfee show calling Darnell Washington a physical freak, saying that he should move to tackle to get better payment in the future of his career. You had Jason McCourty, former defensive back for the New England Patriots, on the McAfee show today as well, saying Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay together are going to be special for the Steelers. You got multiple players on the team, mostly the defense, saying that this could be a historic year for them. And at this point, I like what they're all saying. I do, but damn, are they really? They are really putting a lot of receipts out there that could be picked up and shoved back in their face at the slightest sign that underachieving this upcoming season. So, to be honest, I'll take some stock in what Ben says. Hall of Fame should be first ballot Hall of Famer. I want to put that out there. Talking about one of his peers in Aaron Rodgers. And, I'm going to take what Ben says about the team and what he says about football with more credit than, insiders and fans and just national talking puppets into a camera here. But I'm going to be honest. They better get off to a hot start, or else it is going to get ugly, and it is going to get ugly in record time. You're saying inside and outside the organization that this is going to be a special, borderline historic year for the team. They better back it up and then some once the regular season gets underway. By the way, congratulations to DK Metcalf. We were just talking about him. The Standard on Twitter right before I went live. Apparently Metcalf is taking his talents to Hollywood. He will be in a film titled Asteroid by Doug Liman. Haley Steinfeld will be in the movie as well. So let's see how DK fares in some Hollywood spotlight. Wonder what Josh Allen will think about that. Metcalf sharing the spotlight with Haley Steinfeld. That's gotta maybe irk Josh Allen just a little bit. I got other NFL players starring in my wife's movies before I do. We'll see. We'll see. Real quick, before I continue on, Flacco, again, I don't believe it until game 1 of the season. Yep, it's all lip service. And honestly, especially for the defensive side of the ball, is where it kind of irritates me the most. Because last time we saw this defense in real-time football, it was the end of last season, where they, from pretty much the 6 games to the end of the season, just got blown out by, competent NFL offenses. and then 300 yards ran right through their face against the Ravens in the playoffs, especially for them. I'm not buying what they are saying until I see it on the field at MetLife Stadium in week 1. I get it. TJ's back. Cam is back. Derek Harmon, he's going to be something good. Revamped defensive back room with 2 experienced and highly touted veteran corners in Darius Slay and Jalen Ramsey, but feels like there has been too much change and little success to show from it, or little success that led to too much change, and we don't know what to expect. So I agree with you there, Flacco. Continuing on here with some extra Pittsburgh Steelers news here today. Gabriel Davis, talked about him yesterday. He visited with the Steelers, I believe, yesterday morning or yesterday evening after practice. I've seen conflicting reports of when exactly he did meet with the team. Anyways, after he left the Steelers facility yesterday, he went up to Buffalo and met with the Bills today. And per the NFL transactions page, Davis did indeed visit the Bills. No other news on that front. So we're going to assume right now that no deal has been reached up there in Buffalo between Davis and his former team. But maybe Davis might have a couple more visits coming up here soon, because according to Diana Rossini of The Athletic, she says that the New York Jets, who the Steelers will play in week 1, along with a couple other teams like the San Francisco 49ers and Minnesota Vikings, are also making calls and monitoring the trade market for potential wide receiver additions. I assume that also will mean free agent additions. So Steelers, I wonder if they maybe up their offer here for Gabe Davis if they truly want him, because tons of teams, they are going to come searching for receiver help, and in a hurry here with, cut downs coming up very, very soon. Davis, by the way, I just mentioned the Steelers, maybe add a little bit something on to their offer for Davis than some other teams. We're still probably looking at a, league minimum deal here for Davis, because this is kind of like the Russell Wilson deal the Steelers did last year, but with Davis, the wide receiver here. The Jaguars, having cut him, they're paying a ton of his dead money contract, so a league minimum or something close to that will be able to get a deal done with Davis. But time is ticking, and it is starting to get into a little bit of nerve-wracking time here. Still, the same problem that the black and gold had last year, not getting a wide receiver too, or someone to at least temporarily fill that role for the season. We're inching closer and closer to that being a problem again for this upcoming season. So we'll see if the Steelers get a deal done with Gabe Davis, but there might be a slim chance that the Steelers get a deal done with another free agent before Gabe Davis. And no, it is not a wide receiver. Talked about this a little bit yesterday. Jeremy Fowler, NFL insider for ESPN, says that free agent guard Dalton Risner, former, I believe, Denver Bronco and Minnesota Viking, he did work out with the Bengals yesterday. We talked about that. And the Bengals, they need all the help they can get on the O-line after all of us watched Joe Burrow run for his life all over the District of Columbia 2 nights ago. But Fowler chimed in again on this last night. I believe it was he or Jordan Schultz who put out there that Risner was visiting with the Bengals. He said that they completed their visit yesterday. No deal was reached. But also, Risner will visit the Seattle Seahawks, and visiting the Pittsburgh Steelers is also a consideration. Now, I would not have expected this at this point. I also will be fair enough giving credit to the Steelers here. I also didn't expect the Steelers to go out and get Andres Pete a couple of weeks ago, but this will be a damn welcome addition. I know that the Steelers, they have their 5 starters seemingly mapped out left to right: Broderick Jones, Isaac Seumalo, Zach Frazier, Mason McCormick, and Troy Fautanu. But who's to say you can't have too much of a good thing here? Reisner was with the Vikings last year, did not start the season right away because of injury, but he made 10 starts with the Vikings, who, by the way, won 14 games last year. In those 10 starts, 0 penalties and 0 sacks allowed. The 13th rated pass blocking guard per PFF. Chances are, if the Bengals really like him, he is going to sign there. Also, I think the Bengals will be the most aggressive because their left guard, Cordell Volson, just got ruled out for the entire season with a shoulder injury. But if he doesn't go there, I'm bringing him in. Honestly, I think Reisner, how old is he? Let me look up his Pro Football Reference page right now. What is his... How old is he? Hang on. Let me do this. Pro Football Reference. Dalton Reisner. He is 30 years old. So, okay age. 6'5", 312. You know, for giving up no penalties and no sacks last year, shocked that he is still available this late in the process. Wonder what is going on with him. But if the Bengals don't get him, and if Jeremy Fowler, if what he might be hearing is true, getting Dalton Reisner and putting him maybe as a high, very, very high-end backup, I'm doing it in a heartbeat. You know, I might even, you know, now just thinking more about this, I might argue that offensive line help is still just as big of a need as the other 2 needs seemingly for this team, safety and wide receiver. I know you don't have a wide receiver 2, but what good is having one if Aaron Rodgers at 41 years old and unable to move, if he's going to be put on his ass? I'd get, you know, at least pass blocking wise, a strong start to the preseason for the Steelers starting O-line, but in the run game, they're terrible, and I don't trust, you know, that line, very young and inexperienced, to come out of the gates humming in the regular season. So if you can get help in Reisner, he can either be a backup to Isaac Seumalo, and hey, who's to say? Seumalo, been injury prone in the past. Reisner could fill in that role and could be a, you know, patch job left guard if Seumalo departs after this upcoming season. Or, and I know this isn't his, you know, natural side, but do think he can play a little bit of right guard. Mason McCormick, I like him. I like the cut of his jib. He seems like a big old country boy from South Dakota State. And when the Steelers drafted him in the 5th round, I'm like, all right, they're getting a mean guy who looks like he tackles cows for fun out of, you know, but still, McCormick, very young. I think he got exposed a tiny bit late last season. If he, you know, as a 5th round pick who really wasn't supposed to start at all last season, if defensive linemen start figuring him out, I might slide Reisner in his place, in all honesty. So just thought that was interesting. Dalton Reisner, at least according to one insider or NFL reporter in Jeremy Fowler, wants to take multiple visits before making a decision, could visit the Steelers. That could be a consideration for him. I would take that in a heartbeat. Yes, Flacco, an O-lineman, hell yes. 30 isn't bad for an O-lineman. No, I think what's Seumalo? Is he 30 or 31? Isaac Seumalo, he is... This will load. Isaac Seumalo is 31, so Reisner, a year younger, but still, though, I would do it. I would do it in a heartbeat. I might do that before wide receiver too, honestly, because I think protecting Rodgers more than getting him another pass catcher. I think he can make do quite well with the pass catchers he's got. And maybe a Gabe Davis or some small addition like that you don't need to break the piggy bank for. But if I got to use some of that, $25, $35 million in cap space to bring in some offensive line help just as a safety measure, I'm doing it. Vikings O-line has been good. 30 years old, is experienced against behemoth. Yeah. 6'5", 312 pounds as a guard. I would love to get Dalton Reisner in here. And I didn't even, think that he would be an option. Okay, real quick, wrapping up the Pittsburgh Steelers extra news here for the day. Moving from one guy, in Dalton Reisner, who was in Vikings purple last year, let's move to another team that wears purple, and that is the Baltimore Ravens today. A bit of an injury scare for them. One of their beat reporters, Jamison Hensley, putting out there that Ravens QB Lamar Jackson left practice today early with what appeared to be a right wrist/hand injury. About 90 minutes into practice, Jackson got knocked down. He stayed for a few plays before heading into the facility. Adam Schefter chimed in a little bit after that, saying when Lamar Jackson left practice, he appeared to be flexing his wrist, but a Ravens spokesperson said Jackson got his foot stepped on and he's fine. I wonder who that spokesperson was, quite honestly. Also, Schefter saying there that he got his foot stepped on. All right. Nobody's talking about him walking off the field with a limp. You got to wonder, maybe he fell back and tried to catch himself and jammed his wrist at all. Either way, that will be something to monitor, ladies and gentlemen. They say it's fine, but all preseason, pretty much, you're going to hear tons of teams when a player gets injured say, oh, they're fine, or this is short term, and then it might turn out to be something more serious later down the line. Saying that he's flexing his wrist, shaking his throwing wrist and hand, that's going to be something to monitor, because we saw something similar to that with Joe Burrow a couple of years ago, where he was dealing with a, at one point minor wrist injury, and then it just gave out from him in the middle of a game. So we will see what happens here. Flacco, the Ravens, hope he's okay, but I hope he's out for a few games, LOL. I do hope he's okay. Jackson, we hate him for the most part because he's a Raven. I think real life, pretty chill dude. Also, I kind of hope he's okay, Flacco, because if the Steelers, if they are going to be as good as they say they are, I want them to beat the teams in their division when they are at their absolute best. So, yeah, here's hoping that Lamar, in the end, will be all right. Maybe. If you see me looking over here at my TV here to my right, I have the Altoona Curve game on once again. Connor Griffin in his second Double-A appearance or game just began his night with a strikeout. Speaking of Griffin, he is the lone extra Pittsburgh Pirates news story here today. Or actually, real quick, before I get into some of what Bubba Chandler is doing, some extra Pittsburgh Steelers roster moves. They reached an injury settlement with linebacker Devin Harper, and I assume he is now off the team. Also, offensive tackle Gareth Warren cleared waivers and was put on Pittsburgh's injured reserve with a concussion. Excuse me. All right, now talking about Connor Griffin here. Like I said, we're watching him right here. Just recapping what he did last night. We were on for at least his first at-bat of the ball game at the AAA level. Last night, he became the youngest player ever to play for the Altoona Curve at 19 years old and almost 4 months. Went 1 for 4 last night with a single, a stolen base, and also he had a sacrifice fly to tie the game up at 5 for the Curve in a 6-5 win overall for them. Congratulations to Connor Griffin on that. And to wrap up the extra Pittsburgh sports news here from the day, I did not see this until now. This came out a little bit ago. Apparently, NHL Network dropped their quarter-century team for the NHL, and 2 Penguins made the list. Probably easy for all of you to guess who those 2 Penguins are, Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. I'm really happy that they put Gino on here because I know he is probably one of the more underrated players ever, and he sometimes gets overshadowed here by Sid, but glad he's getting the recognition here of making the NHL's network's quarter-century team. Just looking here at a couple of the other names on there. No Chris Letang, which, looking at the names here, I guess, all right, he remained off. Drew Doughty, Victor Hedman, Duncan Keith, Cale Makar, Alex Pietrangelo, and Shea Weber. I know Tanger throughout his career has had, some unfortunate injury and health issues. I mean, strokes, stuff like that. But I could squint and maybe put him in the defensive category over Alex Pietrangelo, maybe. But not going to hold any grudges there. On the forward group, Crosby, Patrice Bergeron. So you got the 2 best two-way centers in recent memory for the NHL. Pavel Datsyuk, Leon Draisaitl, Patrick Kane, Anze Kopitar, Nikita Kucherov, Nate McKinnon, Evgeny Malkin, Connor McDavid, Alex Ovechkin, and Steven Stamkos. The 2 goaltenders for NHL Network's quarter-century team, Jonathan Quick and Andrei Vasilevsky. Not going to get too upset there of them leaving off Marc-Andre Fleury. As a matter of fact, Flower, you're probably looking at him as the 4th or 5th goalie, top goalie in the quarter century, because I would think if Jonathan Quick, who fantastic years with the LA Kings, winning 2 Stanley Cups there, and same thing for Andrei Vasilevsky with the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'd see, even though this guy didn't have the material or the hardware success, Carey Price, he's probably goalie number 3, and then maybe you put in Fleury. Even though Flower won 3 Stanley Cups, I think what kind of knocked him out of contention for this was that Matt Murray ended up being a goaltender in net for the finals of the playoffs in 16 and 17. Also, Hendrik Lundqvist, he could have been in that mix as well. See, now I'm just reading the comments of this. The Zdeno Chara, Nick Lindstrom. That's quarter century, though. I think he might go back early in his career there. Erik Karlsson, maybe 3 Norris trophies. Probably, the late 2010s, and now how so far as 2020s are going, probably kept him out there. Jonathan Toews. Yeah, we'll see. Not going to be too critical of that, but maybe a couple of Penguins left off that list. Maybe not. Who knows? 7 of you in here right now. Welcome to the live stream. Thank you for joining me here tonight. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Trying to reach 500 subscribers here on the channel. We are at 490 right now, so hit that subscribe button if you have not done so already. Also, turn on notifications so that you never miss when I am live or I upload a video. Again, like this live stream, share this live stream, and get any thoughts, questions, or opinions in the chat right now, just like Flacco has been doing here. Worried about their record rather than when they play them. Yeah. I'll be okay with Lamar playing the Steelers. I just want him out first 2 or 3 games. Oh, well then, if he's out the first, 2 to 3 weeks, then by the time the Steelers roll around on the schedule, he'll be even, more ready to go. If I'm the Steelers, I kind of want maybe Jackson to get a couple hits under his belt, maybe rattle the cage a little bit before he plays the Steelers. Switching accounts got to go mobile. All right, Flacco, all okay there. Real quick, gonna take another stroll here through Twitter before logging off this evening. We do got a couple extra Pittsburgh Steeler notes here from Jeff Hathorn, Steelers insider 493.7 The Fan. He believes that Chris Boswell, Steelers kicker, is no longer pursuing a renegotiated deal, seeking more money after kicking in Saturday's Steelers-Buccaneers preseason game. Kind of figured that was the case. And also, I think Coach Tomlin came out and said Boswell would have kicked some extra points in that preseason game from Saturday had Steelers long snapper Christian Kuntz not been knocked out with injury. I think after that, having a inexperienced long snapper and Logan Lee in there, they didn't want to put Boswell at risk for anything really at that point. So I understand that. But now I assume just like Cam Hayward, probably just going to settle playing on the current contract he has for this season. And we will see if anything else comes from this maybe next offseason. Also here, Field Yates, who recently re-signed with ESPN. I will find this mock draft later on. In a early mock draft for next offseason, he has the Steelers picking 16th in the draft. So that is assuming that the Steelers either did not make playoffs or they made a trade up like what they are seemingly preparing to do with their accruing of draft picks. At pick 16, Field Yates, well over 9 months until the NFL draft next offseason, has the Steelers taking Garrett Nussmeier, quarterback from LSU. I'd be all right with it. He's definitely up there in that upper echelon of quarterbacks coming out in this year's draft. Really, I'm going to be watching college football like I never have had before, because so many good quarterbacks, high potential quarterbacks to watch for next year's draft. Nussmeier, Drew Aller, Sam Levitt, maybe, very, very long shot, maybe Arch Manning, Lenoris Sellers, Cade Klubnik. I'm probably missing a whole bunch of other ones there, but, still a while off here. I'm going to take that as a good pick for the Steelers right now, if that ends up being the case from Field Yates, but still a long football season in the NFL and in college left to go here. Wrapping up, taking one more stroll here through Twitter before logging off for the evening. Apparently, the San Francisco 49ers, we mentioned them earlier as possibly being one of those teams searching for wide receiver help, just like the Steelers. I think we now know why. Jordan Schultz posting 14 minutes ago that wide receiver DeMarcus Robinson for the 49ers has been suspended 3 games to start the season. So no surprise that they are searching for wide receiver help, giving that bit of news. See if anything else is going on here. Also, a bit of national news here. Judge Frank Caprio passed away at age 88. Very popular viral judge on the internet. And this kind of isn't Pittsburgh Penguins, Steelers, or Pirates related, but they are, at least starting to become a professional and popular Pittsburgh sports team. Congrats to the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, who they play at Highmark Stadium, which is right up the river from Acrisure Stadium. They are expanding Highmark Stadium from 5,500 seats to 15,000 seats. That football club, beautiful stadium, by the way. You can't miss it when you're driving through Pittsburgh. They are having some great success there. Really getting some support from the city. So congratulations to them, and hope all goes well on that renovation. Also, probably bring more sporting events and more events in general to that stadium. You're talking concerts and who knows what else, but may need to start covering the Riverhounds here soon. Who knows? I know jack about soccer, but I'll try my best if that ends up being the case someday. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think that will do it for this evening. Not seeing anything else here, Pittsburgh sports news-wise for the day, but tomorrow night we will be back here recapping what goes on within the next 24 hours, and we will also be previewing the third and final preseason game for the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Carolina Panthers, even though head coach Mike Tomlin said yesterday that all but DK Metcalf, TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, and Aaron Rodgers, that everyone else will be preparing to play. Do we really believe that too many guys are going to play? I think the Panthers, they've already said that they are not going to be playing starters. So if that's the case, it'll be fun as hell if the Steelers do end up playing like Jalen Ramsey and those guys, but I'll believe it when I see it. I think, honestly, they might just put him in bubble wrap, and we'll see him week 1, September 7th, against the New York Jets. So we'll recap what all goes on between we'll recap tomorrow what all goes on within the next 24 hours and preview Panthers versus Steelers. And we'll have a little bit of fun on Thursday before we see how the Steelers do in their final preseason game. One final time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so that you never miss when I am live again. Like this live stream, share this live stream, and comment in the comment section after the fact. Also, I will say one more time, go give the channel a follow at Steel City SR on Facebook, Instagram, and X. And come back a little bit later on here tonight for a new edition of SCSR60. Thank you all. Have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday night. See you back here, same time tomorrow, where we preview Steelers-Panthers. Peace.